Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Nate's Cold Casts. Yeah, I got a nice ZVT here for you. I decided to go with a pro replay. As many of you guys are aware, I'm actually not allowed to cast the ESO weekly cups. I applied, I was denied, but I do still get to access the replays that are uploaded after the events. They just have too many English casters is what they told me. So I just figured I would grab random replays from any of the weeklies since I don't really get to see them. I'm usually streaming while they're happening since I can't broadcast them, so I don't really get to see any of these games. You may have seen some of these, but I'm just going to do them as one-offs. This is probably part of a best of 3, maybe part of a best of 5. I don't really care. Let's just see what happens. In the top left, we have the red Zerg player. He is Dark. Obviously a fantastic Korean Zerg. He is up against one of the most popular fun players to watch in StarCraft 2, and I figure a little TvZ action wouldn't be a bad one to grab here. We have Byun as the blue Terran in the bottom right. A little TvZ to start off the day. It's always a good way to do it. For the cold casts, I love grabbing random replays and just kind of seeing all sorts of range of skills and abilities, but it can be fun to throw in those, it can be fun to throw in some of the more competitive, high-level pro matches. So I figure we'll do that every once in a while. I did try doing this thing where I checked the chat tab on dropsc. You can check the chat tab and see what people say in the replay before you download it. Unfortunately, today, I checked 6 replays, and every single one of them had people just throwing very vulgar, hateful things at each other that I'm not interested in platforming on my in my content. So it was either do this cast of some actual quality players or have to blur half of it again. And honestly, you know, I thought I expected more. I expected more from StarCraft players who upload their replays, and that was my mistake. So we've got a double Reaper opening from Byun. This is a very, very standard build now. Lots of people have been doing this. You don't have an easy way to really get out on the map and apply pressure to Zerg in the early game. Single Reaper openings have largely been phased out. That you can still do it to scout, but you don't really do damage with them. So seeing this early on, quite normal. The Terran player is going to try to deny the third base with the Reapers typically, pull the Queen far away if it takes damage, maybe kill a couple of the Zerglings. There's a few different ways that you can do it. Zoning the Reapers here between the base and the Queen can also help with trying to make sure that the Queen is very far off of creep and just make it, generally speaking, a nightmare to deal with. So Byun does his little poke prod, his little harass. Not too much coming from it just yet. He is one of the best players in the world as far as Reaper control is concerned. Never forget the last time Reapers were considered good units was when Byun with no team showed up to BlizzCon and won the whole entire thing all by himself. And it wasn't just with Reapers, but they sure did help. Meanwhile, he's gone for a third command center. Back home, into a factory and a starport. Lots of Terrans will do that Reaper build and then go straight into the factory after 3. Most of the time, you only want to make 3 Reapers because you still want to get your add-ons. Still want to get stims, still want to get Marines out, want to get the reactor going. If you wait too long, if you overcommit to the Reapers, you're highly likely to get caught by Ling speed, and then you just don't have any map control, right? So you want to use this time where you can keep the Zerg player contained a little bit. You want to use that to get everything else that you can get. Meanwhile, Dark, he's done this dance before. We see he does all the weeklies. We've seen him a lot in the Korean Star League as well, which I believe those guys have been setting up for their SummerSlam. Or I think that might have just happened this last week, but we'll probably get into that this weekend or next week. Just had a lot going on. You know, football season starting up soon. Your resident Jets fan, Nathanias, who has spent a lifetime of suffering and misery, will finally come to an end, for better or worse, this year. But we got a lot of stuff. Going on. Trying to make a lot of things work. This early game, for example, trying to get these Reapers to work. Not too much else I think you're going to be able to grab there. I appreciate the attempt as always, Byun. Very micro heavy. He's going to constantly poke and prod. But I think for a guy like Dark, he's been in this situation plenty of times. And what has he done? He's just macroed. He's macroed up. He's droned very well, 53 to 40. And now he's getting a couple of lings with speed. Now he's getting the Baneling Nest. Now he's getting the lair. So is it a crazy fast lair with a super fast Bane speed? No. Oh, did he? He finished the Bane Nest, and then he started another. Well. Where's that loser from SC Reddit who said that all the pros macro perfectly and never make mistakes? I would talk to him, but his foot... I mean, it's either up his butt or his mouth, right? It's hard to tell at this point. Maybe both at the same time. He does have 2 feet, right? So there's people who think that this game gets played perfectly, and it's one of my favorite fallacies that gets repeated. The beauty of StarCraft is that there are too many things that you have to do. Even the best players, even the absolute best players in the game make mistakes. That is a big part of what makes it so fun. Nobody plays this perfectly. Dark does get pretty close sometimes, though, and Byun. I mean, we're looking at 2 world champion players here. Let's not pretend. Let's not pretend like these aren't both Giga Chads. Except Byun, I don't think he's ever won a WCS America title. So, from that regard, in that way, you could say that he's failed to win one of the easiest events. So maybe Byun was never really that good. I don't know. He's trying to push up the ramp and clear some creep tumors. Does get a couple of the fresh ones, but that's a lot of queens. I mean, 10 queens? Can you imagine playing chess with 10 queens? It'd be impossible to lose. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's just a very, very defensive setup. Trying to macro. I mean, now he's getting out the lings as his Bane speed gets close to finishing, but 10 queens is... That's a turtley way to start your game. We'll just leave it there. We can't pretend like Byun hasn't been super aggressive though. So this is where he gets the advantage, is by being out on the map the whole time and making these pushes as quickly as he could. Byun gets his 3rd base up without too much trouble. On this map, the 3rd is very exposed to the high ground on the outside. The placement of the geyser makes it kind of difficult to tell where you can set up a wall. So we do see a lot of big run-bys on Babylon. It's one of the tougher maps to deal with, especially if you're on the back foot and they break open the rocks. But that's the advantage of being aggressive, being in the Zerg player's face. So Byun just has this huge army. This is something that he's just super known for. Big macro, big bio play. Nowhere near enough Banelings to mop this up. And he just not only cancels the hatch, he's going to pick up into 2 of these medevacs. It looks like we're going to see him bring mostly everything home while this double drop hits the main base. So there we have now unloading. There are about 8 queens here, which I don't think they can stop the Marines even with the transfuse. He's going to need a little more. There it is. Rest of the lings coming up into the main base. Actually, target fires down the Mutalisk. Very nicely done by Byun. This medevac is going to try and get away, but I'm not feeling too hopeful. Not feeling particularly hopeful there. Second factory on the way. I love that he's going to go into Widow Mines, something that you do not see enough Terran players do. Siege tanks, they can be good in a well-positioned area where they can kind of be choked off or use the high ground. I love them, but the Widow Mines tend to be a little more consistent. Those tanks, man, they are big, juicy targets. Goes for a stint back to try and keep the Mutalisks away from them. Meanwhile, contingent of Marines and the Reapers, the 3 Reapers from the beginning of the game in that bottom left base. Kind of love that. It's like, I'm going to throw some grenades or something to block you from running up the ramp. I don't know. Comes up, snipes a Baneling. Looking for 2, gets the next one. And as long as all the Banelings are dead, then the Marines can deal with the Lings pretty easily. Like, Marines head-to-head don't really lose to Zerglings. If you're really far behind on upgrades, or you don't have medevacs, or the medevacs are out of energy, that can be a situation that kind of turns for the Zerg, but just Lings alone is often not going to be enough against a lot of well-upgraded bios. So for Dark, it's been take the base, try to secure it. The pressure has been on, though, and he has not been able to move to that next level of tech either. So yes, he has 2-2. Yes, we have +2 coming in for the Mutalisks, but very close to hitting a mine there on the natural. But as the Mutas come back for some harass, it's worth pointing out, no Infestation Pit means no Hive, and that means no additional upgrades. So he's going to Magic Box the Thor in the main base, but Dark needs as many units as he can possibly get, because Byun is hitting him from 2 sides at once. Another double drop on the top. It's going to load up and go to the main base very quickly, but that bottom left expansion has been destroyed. We have 4 siege tanks on the high ground for Byun, and he's just going to try to push up towards this 3rd base now. That drop in the main, by the way, still alive and kicking. Gets picked up one more time. I think this is where maybe you try to drop between the mineral patches. I don't know. Or you at least just get him out before the mutas come kill the medevacs. And he still has the tanks, even with that Widow Mine up front, which has about 7 kills on it. Not too shabby at all. The Banes are going to come in from the left side. Will he have the target fire? Looks like the tanks do try to acquire, but not quite in time. And that position will be overrun. So Dark makes a very good defense, but we have to keep in mind, this is an army that's a little bit on a timer. And as I say that, I'm gonna call myself out here. Byun never started as 3-3, so it's actually not that bad. I think if you're up against 3-3 Marines and you only have 2-2 Lings, you're in some trouble. But in this scenario, he's not even getting those upgrades. He's just now started +3 attack, so there's actually plenty of time. There's plenty of time for him. I thought he was getting that. Am I crazy? I thought he was getting +2 Carapace. Did that evolution chamber get killed? I'm a great caster. Not only can I observe, cast, read chat at the same time, I can also miss upgrades getting denied too. Absolute Giga Chad, multi-Adonis. Never mind, I take it all back. This is a very bad spot for Dark. He's at 2-2 versus 2-1. He shouldn't win any head-to-head fights with those Lings. It's going to be difficult. And once 3-3 is ready, then we know that's where the Terran player just becomes very hard to break. So the way to answer this, all the gas that could have gone to those upgrades, all the gas that could have gone to the infestation pit, and last but not least, all the gas that could have gone to a hive and potential adrenal glands has gone into these mutas. And golly gee willikers, Batman, there's a lot of them. 21 mutas, forever 21 in your base. Missile turret gone, SCV's dead, and I love this. Dark just clicks on the command center. He's like, I just want the base. Give me the base. 1 or 2 more. Oh, perfect. Armin van Buren drops the base right on time as always. Shout out to State of Trance coming down the ramp towards that 4th base. Once again, Marauders up front taking the Banelings. Marines stepping back. Hatchery about half health, so if he focuses that, he could get it. Mutas are going to come over to the 4th base. Now there's just a single missile turret, and it will get popped. Thor trying to get that splash, pushing him away again. That Thor in the medevac, very good deterrent for the mutas to stack. Meanwhile, 4th base is down. Dark has been able to kind of stabilize that 3rd, but we can see it's running out of resources, so he really needs to get another base. Meanwhile, well, one muta left over in the main did not quite make it out. He brought everything back over, rallied the troops, and shut down this push. But now it's round 2, and this is the hard part. When the mutas are in your base, you kind of have to run back and stop them. But now the mutas are no longer in your base. He scans, he sees, okay, your army here is pretty much just nothing but mutas. He's trying to get as many Banelings as he can. And Banelings would be very useful here, but with the Marauders and the Thors leading the way, I don't see how he gets the Banes onto the Marines, and that's kind of the #1 problem that he has right now. Bio is going to spread on creep. Has plenty of bio left to deal with this, and that should be it. GG Byun takes a rather stellar game here against Dark. Let me know what you thought about that game in the comments, and if you have a replay you'd like to submit for Nate's Cold Casts, I'd like to mix it up, but I would like to not have derogatory terms I have to censor in the chat of the game. So if you guys play a great game of StarCraft, something fun happens, make sure to shoot that replay over to the email down below in the description of the video, and maybe your game will get featured for an episode of Cold Casts. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.